Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Another preseason preview coming your way. This time we're looking towards the AFC East. I am back with Andrew, I'm back with Adam, and I'm back with our long-lost colleague, our friend, our brother in arms, our patron totem New England Patriot fan, Sky Lawrence Pank of Pat Pals and the Franchise Tag podcast. Very good to see you. I hope you had a good World Cup. You're excited for the NFL season to start? You've been watching some of the preseason?
Yeah, watched our, thrilling 13-13 against the Colts. Life-changing. Excited for the new season. And obviously we get the first game to try and get revenge against the Seahawks. So that will either make or break my birthday weekend. But great to be back and great to see you all. I'm sure Adam, out of all of us, is the most excited for the NFL season because he always is. He's always, enthusiasm is always flowing through him.
Mm-hmm. He's been relatively cheerful, to be fair. Yeah. I thought we might get a little bit of a grouchy one this time, considering Crawley's, assault on the other team after 2 red cards and 3 red cards in a game, 2 red cards by Crawley.
Yeah. Well, they're just spirited.
Spirited, is that the word?
Spirited. Yeah.
Having all 3 of us watched Crawley a fair few times now, I would say spirited is not the word I would describe.
I think there's a different Crawley this year. Definitely spirited. Angry a little bit. Yeah.
Is the anger deep-seated in anything particular, or
no, just generally angry about life, I think, so.
Well, I'm sure if you follow Adam on Twitter, you'll hear all about how Crawley are doing for
Yeah.
As he has been doing that already. But to kick off this AFC East episode, we'll be looking at the Buffalo Bills finishing 12-5 in the AFC East last season, second place, going to the postseason, beating the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-24 in the wild card, but eliminated by the Denver Broncos 33-30 in the divisional round. Did win their preseason game the other day against the Carolina Panthers 29-14. And there's a new head coach in town, Joe Brady, who, if you know Joe Brady already, you should do, because he's been at the Buffalo Bills a while as the offensive coordinator. He has been promoted with Sean McDermott seeing the exit door. And Andrew, he's stepped into some big shoes. Sean McDermott been there a long time, been very successful there, hasn't been to the big game. Are they hoping this pivot might push them over the top, considering Sean McDermott's more of a defensive-minded guy, and this might unlock Josh Allen to a new height that we've maybe not seen Josh Allen yet at?
Yeah, I think it's about the right call that they've made. They had their time with Sean McDermott. They persisted with him, which I think was the right thing, because they were always knocking on the door but not quite making it. So I think it was time to go, do you know what? Maybe we need to change something. We can't just plateau and it be knocking on the door every single year. Something needs to change. This is the change that's going to be made. I don't think they wanted to change too much on the offensive side of the play due to that being their strength. And he gets on very well with Josh Allen. So I think Brady giving a shot is probably the correct decision to make for them. I know a lot of people wanted them to clear house, change it completely, get in a new regime and see if they can get over the line with that. But I think one more try with some of the guys that have already been in the building, I think this is the correct decision, because they're not far away. It's not as if they had a disastrous year last year or any previous years. They've been, like I say, knocking on the door every year. This could be the thing that gets them over the line.
Well, they've been knocking on the door, like you said, and Sky, they made headlines very early on in the offseason with their trade for DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears, the tenured wide receiver who's a really good career in Chicago. And one of the criticism of the Buffalo Bills beforehand was not having that big time wide receiver. Then they got in Stephon Diggs, and they sort of rinsed that flannel for all it was worth until it was bone dry, and then he left the building. And then it was still like, well, they still need a big time wide receiver. They made a few draft picks, didn't really work out, and they dip into the NFC North and trade for we've talked about on a couple of episodes receivers who go a little bit under the radar. I feel like Terry McLaurin's one of them. Mike Evans, I felt like, has been one of them in the past, and DJ Moore, I think, falls closely into that into that catalogue of wide receivers. How are you feeling about him entering your division, and you think he's going to make some moves in Buffalo?
Yeah, I know he spoke in the offseason about maybe some like troubles getting used to playbook and stuff, but said it will click eventually. And obviously he has a really big opportunity there to become the wide receiver one. I think more his role, as he's obviously been in the league a bit longer, is we saw Keon Coleman, get a touchdown in preseason, is to almost also help elevate the other receivers. That maybe doesn't get talked about enough, and bringing the guy in like that can probably, and he can do that because, DJ Moore even, I think, helped Caleb Williams a lot behind the scenes before being moved on. There's obviously in a good position to take that leap, like Andrew said. I did try and look, though, to see if there's been any other case of, someone being at a franchise for so long and going from QB coach to OC to head coach. And it's not really ever happened before where that has, sort of come to fruition and then it's gone on to win a Super Bowl. The closest one maybe is like Mike Martz and Kurt Warner at the Rams. But obviously we're talking 30 years ago now. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens because this team clearly has the ability with like the additions that you said, Fred, getting a DJ Moore to maybe get over the hump. But I'm still not sold on the defensive coordinator choice. I know obviously people have talked about, Jim Leonard and what he's done at the Broncos, but I thought they might have maybe gone down a more experienced route for the DC side of things, considering that, they made an in-house move to go with Brady as the head coach.
Yeah, well, they said the head coach being the in-house guy, moving up that level, revitalizing their staff in Adam, bringing in a new wide receiver. I mean, doing something as well that they've done very historically in the last few years in bringing an experienced edge rusher in like Bradley Chubb. They did that with Von Miller. They did it with Joey Bosa as well. I mean, it's still feeling, though there's a change, it's still feeling quite similar to me. Is this the recipe for success?
Yeah, I mean, in theory, I suppose it should be, shouldn't it? Really, there's not a lot of change. I actually think it's funny. There's not a lot of change, as in like because it's the OC moving up to be head coach. But I actually think, as Sky said about Jim Leonard coming over from the Broncos, they play a 3-4. So I think if he does that, then it could be quite a big change on that defense. So I'm not quite sure with them because of that. That might cause some issues. There's a lot of young draft picks have come into the Bills this year, especially on the defense. So I think that'll be interesting to see how they do. But obviously they've still got some, great players. They've still got like Greg Rousseau still there, Ed Oliver's still there. Like you said, Bradley Chubb's come in. So the defense does look pretty good. Offensively, I think it's going to be pretty much the same as it's been for the last few years. It's going to be Josh Allen running the show. You've got James Cook, I think, will have another good season. The wide receivers, DJ Moore did pretty well at Carolina, and Joe Brady was there, wasn't he, for that? So you would kind of expect that to go quite well. Keon Coleman, I wouldn't get too excited.
Apparently, he's had a very good connection in the off-season.
I don't care about the off-season.
Joe Brady
it doesn't mean anything.
Maybe Joe Brady can unlock him and get
Someone
him going.
needs to unlock him. So yeah,
Talent's in there. It's in there.
He's still young.
We'll see.
Shakir's
still there, so obviously he's decent as well. And yeah, I think they're going to be. I think they'll do well, but I'm not. I feel like with the Bills, it's almost like it's always we've got to get to the Super Bowl, and I still don't think they're really there.
A quick word on the draft picks because you sort of mentioned it, but we haven't really gone into detail. Like you said, quite defensive heavy. TJ Parker didn't have a first round pick in the end. Can't remember whether they traded out of that in draft or prior. I
think they moved back, didn't they?
Yeah. So they took TJ Parker with the 30. We must have done. The 55th pick is quite high for them at Clemson. Davison Igbinosun. I nearly went Igbenogany. That's harder to say.
You nailed that, mate.
Igbinosun, cornerback out of Ohio State, with the first 2 picks, both in the second round. 4th round picks were 2 offensive players and 1 defensive player in Caleb Elarms or the linebacker. How do you think their draft went? I mean, TJ Parker was a guy that I don't remember whether you or Andrew had a first round grade on him. I know you said he was in the mix there, but comes from a team that came off.
I had a very high grade on him. I love him. I think he's fantastic.
We had differing opinions on TJ Parker, should we say, in the nicest possible way. I felt like he was okay at everything, but not anything special. Whereas for Brains over there, thought he was the bee's knees and all that.
Well, what made him the bee's knees, Andrew?
He going into his final year at Clemson, he was touted to be the number 1 guy at his position. Clemson had a very, very bad year, which did damage the stock of every single player that was on that team. And I feel like he was part of that. And he was obviously their big name other than Peter Woods. And he's just so good. Adam says he's one of those guys that sort of was a jack of all trades, master of none. But to have the skill set that he's got and be able to do everything on a team like this with the Bills, I think that complements them perfectly. You don't need to be the standout superstar. If you can do everything, you've got Russo, Ed Oliver, Chubb, all that around you. Just go out and be absolutely incredible and solid every single week. That's all they're asking for on that defense. It fits perfectly. Superb talent. And I think we'll see more from him than what is projected. I think he was undervalued due to Clemson having a bad year.
Wasn't Igbinosun was your guy as well, wasn't he?
He was at Ohio State. Yeah. We had him in at number 10 on our cornerbacks list.
Oh, yes. You sneaked him in for no reason. Yeah.
I figured the Ohio State tag got him in for.
I think Jalen Kilgore's a really good pick for them as well. I think he's very underrated. I had quite a good grade on him too. So they've got some nice pieces in there. They picked 3 underrated pieces that could shine. So one of those 3 could be better than their projected value.
He's got the Pats jersey on, but we'll put his Pats hat on as well for this moment, I suppose.
Well, hang on, he's got Brady on the back of it, so he's in favour of the Bills head coach. So it doesn't matter.
It made me laugh as much as it did.
It's a double meaning now, that surname. But given the rising success of the New England Patriots, are the Bills the team? Do you fear the Bills? Do you fear Josh Allen? James Cook, fantastic running back. The entry of DJ Moore, though a similar style of defense has always been a pretty good defense. I mean, last season, the first in total passing yards, and only allowing 2,668, best defense in the air. You could run on them. They were pretty terrible against the run game, but in the pass game, they were pretty sensational. Are they still, even with this shift of coach, Sky, are you still worried about them?
Do you know what? I'm not going to say worried. I respect them because they're like a great offensive unit, but I do lean more towards Adam than what Andrew is probably like in terms of what they've alluded to. And I just don't still see them getting it done. Like, even if we met them in the playoffs and they beat us, I don't have this fear in me that the Bills are going to go win a Super Bowl, because Josh Allen, we've seen him, on his day can be the best quarterback in the league because he takes this sort of like Superman mantra on, right? But there always seems to be some kryptonite that will turn up at some point and, stop them. And I just think that it's almost a bit like how Brett Favre was at the Packers. I know he got 1 ring, but it's almost like, gunslinger can make every throw in the book, make magic happen, but still something will go wrong at some point. And almost weirdly, even if the Bills won the division over us, I still think come playoff time, I would be quite comfortable knowing that there's Mike Vrabel, and, there's pieces there for us to maybe go a bit deeper than they would, which we saw, obviously, last season as well. So whilst they're a threat, I just still don't think they're going to get to the big game, let alone win it.
Let's turn our attention to somewhere a little bit warmer than New York State, down to Florida, talking about the Miami Dolphins going 7-10 last season, 3rd place in the AFC East, did fail to qualify for the playoffs, did lose their preseason game to the Washington Commanders 20-7. Mass change, a head coach out the door, Mike McDaniel now, the offensive coordinator of the LA Chargers. We spoke about that in our AFC West video. So make sure you check that out for our thoughts on him over there. They brought in ex Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. He's brought in Bobby Slovic, Sean Duggan as new coordinators. It's been quite the clear out in Miami. Jalen Waddle traded away, Adam. Tua out the building now. They brought in Malik Willis, a quarterback that you know very well, a head coach that you know very well as I just stated earlier. Tyreek Hill gone, Bradley Chubb gone, Minka Fitzpatrick gone. All these, traded really, Minka in the end. All these guys out the door. It's a new dawn. It's a new day in Miami. Is it an exciting time in the Florida state?
Well, no, not really. Not this year anyway, is it? It's going to be horrific for them. Christ. No, I don't think it is. I think it's going to take some time. There's a lot of change. And I think that they're probably going to, I believe it's called ethical tanking is what they're going for, where it's basically we're going to get rid of everyone and be so crap that it's okay. So I think that's the theory. I think for possibly for Malik Willis, it gives him a chance, but not much of a chance, to be honest, because I think they've just taken all the weapons away. It's going to be him and it's going to be Devon Achane, and that's it when it comes to the offense. I don't really think there's a lot there. It would be nice to see Chris Bell if he can get fit and see what he can do. I think that would be good, but offensively that's about as good as it gets. And on the defense, you've got some decent pieces on now. I think Kenneth Grant's all right. Chop Robinson's decent. Chris Johnson, we like the look of when we did the cornerbacks. That's about it. There's not a lot, and I think it's just going to be one of them years. And I think where the Dolphins are this year is where the Jets were last year, and I think it's about they're going to have to remember this, that at the end of the season, don't get rid of Hafley. If you've got a bad record, it's about it. You just got to let it happen. Get a good draft pick. If you want to go quarterback, go quarterback. If you don't, probably trade it away and get a haul for it and continue to rebuild. And I think that's just how they're going to have to go.
There seems to be a huge smirk on Sky Hank's face. Is it because you think it's funny about the moves they made, or that how bad they're going to be, but how it just seems to be this never-ending cycle of not doing very well in Miami? I mean, does it please you this much?
Yeah, it actually does. Obviously, they haven't even won a playoff game this millennium, and the ethical tanking really amused me because that is how it is. Because I wrote down the perfect reset because Waddle's gone, Hill's gone. Adam did miss out a fantasy sleeper of mine, though. My mate Jalen Tolbert coming over from the Cowboys, right? He could be a bright spot. Caleb Douglas had an amazing one catch against the Commanders. So I saw a couple of people on Twitter like, "Yay, we might have a young bright, spark there." But yeah, it is quite amusing how bad they're going to be, and I think almost like they're going to try and be competitive. And it's a bit of a shame because I feel like all of us here do quite like Malik Willis, and we spoke fondly of him at the back end of last year. So it's always nice when a guy gets his opportunity, but unfortunately, these are normally the cases where you're getting the opportunity at one of the worst franchises in the league. And I think quite simply for the Dolphins, there'll be a top 5 pick next year, and then they'll just draft a quarterback. And that's kind of the plan that they want, and they'll pretend that they're not, but that's how it's going to go.
It just feels like there's an echo here because I think all 4 of us feel the exact same way about it. Like Andrew, isn't it? Let's maybe focus on Malik Willis, because is it overly fair? And does he know what he's signing up for? He must do, of going like, looking at his franchise, seeing what's happened and going like, well, I'm clearly not going to be the starter here for very long, because there's definitely moves here where we're looking with eyes towards what is supposed to be a very strong quarterback draft class. Obviously, there's a lot of time between now and February, and things can move. Last season was meant to be a pretty decent. This draft just gone was meant to be a decent quarterback class. Ended up really not being. A lot of guys dropped off. The same exact thing could happen this season. I mean, what mentality-wise, how does a quarterback, I suppose, get good with that, and how and what's the attraction for that? Because if I'm Willis, I'm thinking I could maybe go to a bit of a stronger team and really cement myself and maybe have a bit of a Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield flip of my career, even though Malik Willis has not had the, I know he was terrible in Tennessee and then went to Green Bay, but he was decent in Green Bay as soon as he started playing, and he was there, 2 years in the end? And we knew he was good. He didn't move on straight away, did he?
No, I think if I'm Malik Willis, I think this is the perfect opportunity to showcase yourself. Like, all you're doing if you stay in Green Bay is showcasing that you can be the best backup in the NFL, which is what he's shown. He's shown, if I'm on a team, I can come in and I can win you games and I can be the best backup. Well, if he's still a young lad, and I don't think he got a fair crack of the whip at Tennessee, because I don't think he was that bad there. I think the organization was just bad at the time. And this is his chance to go with some guys that he's familiar with and friendly with, because he's been in the building with them, and go, I can start for 1 year and I can show everybody in the NFL what types of passes I can play, how I can read the field, how I can conduct myself, and whether I can be a franchise quarterback in this league. And I think you only need 1 year to do that. You only need one chance, and he doesn't need to win games to show that either. He just needs to be able to make passes on time in the correct place, and not take sacks, not drop back, and look like a franchise quarterback. If he looks the piece, it doesn't matter whether the victories are there. Someone will then go, I'd like to take a shot on him. If maybe even the Dolphins, if he's that good, they might be doing that. The worst case scenario for this is he absolutely amazing, and the Green Bay are kicking themselves that they let him go. And maybe they made a bad decision and they should have kept him in the building. Maybe they've done a Minnesota Vikings there. But I think it's a great opportunity for him to show what he can do as a starter for a year, and almost sell himself to someone else that will want to take a shot on him, because there'll be teams that won't want to take a rookie, teams that won't be high enough in the draft, and he'll be perfect player to go for. So I would have made this decision as a youngster as well.
Can I just quickly say as well, he does have 45 million reasons to be quite happy about being there as well.
We'll stick with Andrew for the draft class, though, because they had 2 first-round picks, Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle from Alabama, and Chris Johnson, that Adam mentioned earlier, cornerback out of San Diego State. 12 picks in the end across their whole draft. And Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker at Texas Tech. Back-to-back Texas Tech players with Caleb Douglas, wide receiver as well. 3 wide receivers taking the end in him. Chris Bell from Louisville and Kevin Coleman from Missouri. A lot of picks. I think we came out of it, from what I recall, thinking this was a pretty decent draft class for them, but there was some sort of, there was a lot of risk reward with a lot of these players. They could either really, really shine and be incredible players in this league, or it might flip the other way, really.
I mean, I think that's the perfect strategy to go for the Dolphins, isn't it? Scatter your picks and take people that were value, that might have had injuries or might not play this year and have got high upside the following year. That's perfect for them. They've got a load of guys that might not be amazing this year, but in the future, that really high ceiling guys that might be good when their rebuild kicks in and they're ready to bring in some better free agents alongside them. So I really like what they did with their draft. As you said, I think Caden Proctor, lots of question marks about him. Apparently he's doing really well in training camp. So a guy with a high ceiling, not quite there yet. Perfect for them. Chris Bell, I love Chris Bell. I think he's got wide receiver 1 written all over him in this NFL. I think he can be a top wide receiver. Injuries, out bad injury, won't be ready for the start of the season. And alongside that, with some of the other guys, I think Jacob Rodriguez was a really underrated guy as well. And Chris Johnson, again, another guy, me and Adam were very high on him, looked very talented. Smaller school guy, very underrated. He could be, in terms of stats and what he did and his production, absolutely off the charts. but his knock was he was at a small school. As I said, they've taken a lot of guys that were either injured, small school, high ceiling, didn't live up to their potential. They don't need to succeed in year one, but if any of them succeed in year 2, 3 and forward, perfect for the Dolphins. Really think it's smart decision making of who they drafted.
I'm pretty sure it popped up on X today that Chris Bale has been activated from injury IR, or it wasn't IR that he was on, but on some sort of injury reserve, non-playing.
He's out there catching balls, but he's not in pads on the field. I think he's in the facility catching balls, but that's about it at the minute, I think.
Okay. Well, before we move on to Sky Lawrence Pank's main event in the next edition of Pitch Magazine, which this episode is brought to you by, it is all about the Super Bowl. There is a Texan thread running throughout, and they have had an extended look at how and why the Dallas Cowboys became a global super brand. Sky will very much want this issue because the Dallas Cowboys are in fact his second team. In fact, maybe even his first team. If you know, let's say, if you are a long-time listener or long-time viewer of the podcast. Issue 17, however, is now available to pre-order with the discount code FTAG20. You can redeem 20% off if you go over to their website, www.pitch-mag.co.uk. Again, FTAG20 to get yourself 20% off on issue 17 today. Fantastic publication by some fantastic people over there. We have just been told this evening that our issue is in the post. So very, very excited to get my hands on Pitch Magazine. Can't wait to have a little read through. Again, FTAG20 for 20% off. The New England Patriots. Let's get on it. I mean the Dallas Cowboys. No, I mean the New England Patriots. Let's get on it. Sky 14-3, first place in the AFC East. Qualified for the postseason, and then went on quite the run, a run that took yourself all the way to San Francisco to sit in Levi Stadium and watch the Super Bowl, which they unfortunately lost 13-29. But they did beat on the way the LA Chargers, the Houston Texans, and the Denver Broncos. I mean, beating the Denver Broncos is a stretch, but there was a game and they came out on top. Firstly, before we talk about the season to come, because there's not been a huge amount of move. There's been a bit. Obviously, the biggest thing being the AJ Brown trading him from the Philadelphia Eagles. A little look back to February in San Francisco and your time in the city and at the Super Bowl, and maybe just a little bit from your point of view of what could have been different, the experience in itself. I mean, seeing your team in a Super Bowl in person. I mean, it's what all NFL fans, content creators, media people all dream of seeing. And, you achieved seeing them in the Super Bowl at least.
Yeah, I know, seeing but not winning. But, it's a first world problem, right? It was obviously a lifelong bucket list thing to tick off. It was really nice. Great to be in the press room, see the buzz in the build up to the week, telling players stories about, like me telling about Demario Douglas, about me flying over to watch the Pats-Texans game. You spoke about those other wins. I mean, whatever people say about the schedule, we still beat 3 of the top 5 defenses to get to the Super Bowl. Just the Seattle defense was obviously another level on that day. You say about doing things differently. I didn't have it in me to ask Mike Vrabel, but if I could go back in time and grow a pair might be the only way to say it, but probably a bit too scared of him, to not go for it on that 4th and short when I think the score was 11-0 or at least 15-0. I think it was still a 2-score game. And then you punt it away in the 3rd quarter. The moment that happened in the stadium, I knew it was game over. So I think there's a lot of learning curves, and that is obviously why we've gone out and got AJ Brown and Romeo Dobbs. Always loved him on the Packers, said it to Adam multiple times. I think he's a great addition there. And despite the schedule being harder, I'm excited to see the offense hopefully go to another level. But I mean, it's stating, I don't want to say that. I feel like for NFL stalwarts like the 4 of us, it is stating the obvious. But maybe people who are new to the NFL, like, you can add as many weapons as you want, but the key is still the O-line. The O-line needs to hold up for these playmakers to be able to obviously get things done. And I think that's kind of what it falls on. Obviously, Travion Henderson, I got to have a sit down with him in San Francisco. Great guy. Didn't manage to convince him to become a Manchester United fan, but who knows? Maybe he'll think of me this season when he gets a few touchdowns. But he's another guy who I'm expected to come on leaps and bounds. And yeah, you just sort of, if I summarize on the first point, and maybe it'd be good to get your guys' opinions on this. Obviously, the thing in the off season has been around Mike Vrabel, off the field and some stuff. And I do think that with a harder schedule, that if things maybe don't go to plan, there will be media outlets waiting in the wings to use that as a narrative, because we see things like this in the NFL all the time. And the first part of our schedule is decent, the first 6 games, but then there's a tough stretch where it's like Bears on the road. I know we just spoke ill of the Dolphins, but it's still a divisional road game. Packers at home and then Lions in Germany. So I think you've got to win at least 4 of your first 6 before, to sort of set the tone for the rest of the campaign. Otherwise, maybe things start to get a few cracks maybe start to appear given what's happened in the offseason. No one wants to talk about Diane Rossini. Everyone's going.
Well, I nearly mentioned it when you said about if you had some balls you would have asked. I was like, that would have been a better one to ask.
We didn't know at that point, did we?
Well, no, but it would have been funnier. Do you really think you're all right for the first 6 games? Got Seattle, away to Jacksonville, and away to Buffalo.
I know it sounds silly, but like Seahawks week 1, like you almost, a tough game like that, a Super Bowl rematch, you kind of just, it's a bit of a, it's not a complete coin flip. Of course, you would still go like maybe Seattle 70-30 favorites, but I think really you'd rather just get that out of the way week 1 and see what happens. Sometimes the emotions can get to teams where they're raising a new banner. I'm still not sold on Sam Darnold. I mean, Fred asked what I thought about San Francisco. I still think the rest of that roster is so elite. He almost threw a couple of picks and the moment did get to him. I think that he's very fortunate to be on such an amazing team throughout. And don't be surprised if he drops a stinker week 1 is what I'm getting at. I'm not really bothered about our first 6 games. I think we're in a good position to win at least 4. Even Buffalo, you said on the road, right, Adam? We won there on the road last year.
And Buffalo have got a really hard start as well. I think their first 5-6 games are ridiculously as hard as well. So I don't think they're going to be too far behind in terms of, I think Buffalo might lose a couple in the first 5 weeks.
Buffalo have got bye weeks in week 7. They're at the Texans, hosting the Lions, hosting the Chargers, hosting the Patriots, at the Rams, at the Raiders. And it's their bye week 7.
That's probably harder than ours because we played, no offense, Fred. We've got the Steelers, we've got the Jags on the road in a stadium which is like half empty because of a rebuild. So if that could be a win. The Bills, again, I talk about emotion. I'm a Pats fan. I'm going to use it to talk my own team up. But you talk about the emotion of them in a brand new stadium, taking on probably their toughest and, fiercest rivals. Again, that could get to them as well. I just think that there's a big chance there for us to win at least 4 or 5 games. But if it does go the way which it could go and go bad, then, yeah, I'm worried about some maybe outside narratives. Because that middle stretch I spoke about, like Bears, Packers, Lions, we know how good the NFC North is, and they're all great teams in their own regard.
Do you want to have a little comment on the draft class as well? The pick 28, Caleb Lomu, the offensive tackle out of Utah, Gabe Yakus, I believe it's pronounced. I could be very wrong about that, though. That's the edge out of Illinois. Eli Raridan, the tight end out of Notre Dame. I have to admit, it's a very Patriots draft for me personally. It's all names I don't know, didn't hear of in the draft process, apart from Caleb Lomu, pretty much. I know you watch a bit of college, Sky, but you're not fully as invested in college like as the NFL. But Andrew, Adam, you can maybe take the reins or take the wheels here and be uber positive for the draft picks for the Patriots made for Sky, or is it just smells a little bit Bill Belichick-y?
I'll leave that to Andrew if you want positivity.
I mean, there's 2 major bits of positivity. Caleb Lomu, for me, was one of the only pure tackles that were in the draft class. There was a lot of question marks on whether people were going to be moved to guard a lot of the big names. Caleb Lomu for me is definitely a tackle. So getting help at that position for the future, because Morgan Moses is not going to be around forever. I thought that was a superb pick for them. I do like what Eli Raridan's been doing in the preseason during training camp. Again, Hunter Henry's not going to be around forever. So I really like that addition in there. Other than that, There's not a lot of big names there to really warrant me putting my money on and saying I think they'll be great. Don't know enough about them too much. Jam Miller obviously was at a big school, so saw a bit of him help at the running back position. But I think they're fine with Ramondre and Travion Henderson there as well. But I think that Caleb Lomu pick is really good for them. Sky even spoke about it at the start. The O-line was key to their season this year. I think Will Campbell played with injuries during the back end of the season. I have no issues with him. I don't think small arms is a problem. Elijah Vera-Tucker, when healthy, is fantastic guard. So they've addressed that. So help with that O-line. I really rate that pick for them. As of the others that they brought in on defense, couldn't tell you enough about them to put my money on and say, yes, they're going to be fantastic.
Andrew, just to ask, he primarily played left tackle, didn't he? And obviously, like you said, he's been, saying he's going to take over right tackle. But for me, I still agree with you about this arms thing being like a myth thing with Will Campbell. But, when you're a fan of a team, you think about, you obviously know way more than other teams. We had this when Matt Light was our tackle in the season where your Giants, just not say it, but you know what I'm alluding to, but that great O-line. And Logan Mankins moved inside. I just think from what I know about our first pick, there could be a situation in a year's time where he actually goes to his preferred left tackle and then maybe Campbell goes into left guard. But for this season, they're not going to want to do that because it almost seems like we're trying to double down and prove that Campbell can play tackle.
Will Campbell was great through the start of the season. It was up until that injury that he sustained where he missed some time. And then when he came back, that's when he got shown up a little bit. And if you're playing with an injury and you're going up against Will Anderson, I think you're going to struggle. Anyone's going to struggle, no matter how talented. So, but yeah, they could move him and bring Caleb. Adam, I think your thing with Caleb Lomu was you thought he should return to college for another year. You thought he was a great athlete and specimen, but he needed one more year to refine his skills. So the fact that Morgan Moses is there and you don't need to bring in Caleb Lomu straight away, he could be your left tackle in the future, and they move Will Campbell slightly. But I've got no issue with what they're doing with the O-line.
I do know that Sky has a little bit of a spicy take that he might want to share with us, but he might not want to share with us either. I don't know whether you want these two opinions on something that we may have spoke about over a WhatsApp.
I did like Salt Bay, like drop it into our WhatsApp chat, didn't I? I think I'm happy to say, but it's not going to happen. I am of the opinion that the Christian Gonzalez, who signed a big deal today? A corner, Witherspoon. He got paid right by Seattle? So obviously they're expecting Gonzalez. There's Mike Vrabel's been very positive, saying like, oh, he's not causing any troubles, he's not practicing because he's been injured, etc. But the rumor is that he wants it written into his contract that he gets an inflation when the salary cap obviously inflates with the new league year. And I was saying to Fred, I'm not against the idea of trading him, because Drake Maye needs to be paid next year. You saw what the Colts gave for Sauce Gardner. You could get a massive haul for Christian Gonzalez. And I think that, whilst maybe Carlton Davis is not going to be as good as he was last year, like you look at guys like Craig Woodson, who was really good for us at safety. I think Vrabel and the Patriots are good at drafting young defensive players and developing them. We had to get an AJ Brown because we never do historically well at receiver. But I think with Gonzalez, I was getting a little bit fed up when I texted Fred the other day and thought to myself, are we really going to pay this guy?
Yeah, well, there's no reason not to, because if it's a 4-year deal, it's a second contract. It'll be back heavy, won't it? So the first few years of his contract are not going to damage you too much, despite the fact being a lot of money. And if you're a team that, let's say you overachieved of what you expected you were going to do last year, and you're looking to maybe match that or maybe do better than that, you can't be going, let's get rid of a cornerback that potentially could be a difference maker. Everyone's talking about how good he is. I think you keep hold of players like that, especially at that position when you've got a good one. And like I said, it's going to be the start of his new deal. So it's going to be back heavy. And those first couple of years, you could win a Super Bowl in that time. So that would be crazy to me to trade him away. It always seems like you're going back to building again, which you don't need to do. You want to add.
I'm playing Madden. Just get more offensive pieces. Don't worry about the defense. I didn't think I'd see Adam nod along. Just put points up.
We've got another team to talk about. I know we've not got long left. Why have we only been talking positively about the Patriots here. I don't think anyone's chipped in yet and gone like, hang on, they've got a harder schedule. Their roster might be better, but surely they're not going to achieve what they achieved last year. Surely.
Do
Surely
you guys
there's got to be.
do you think back to the playoffs as neutrals?
Well, just in terms of, you played for the top defenses in the playoffs, and that's when May struggled the most, wasn't it? That's when he had his most turnovers, and he's still learning. So I think there's got to be a little dip. Like I said, you overachieved last year. So if you just achieved this year, I think you're a 10 win team.
I was going to say 11.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot about this, that 10 wins doesn't guarantee you the playoffs.
I think it might be a little bit like we commented upon earlier in the other division about that it could well go down to the final day, like the final 2 weeks, final 3 weeks, where in the AFC side of it, when you've got, just to rattle names off, but the Texans, the Jags, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos, and then the Bills within the same division. There's always going to be a new team that gets in that wasn't there last year. It always happens, or it's sometimes 2 new teams again. And there's always 2 to 3 teams that drop out of it who you didn't really expect to drop out of it. So it wouldn't entirely shock me if the Patriots fell into that category. I don't see it personally, but I think I don't think you top the division. But we'll move on to that, like where we are in all division and stuff like that. But
what's your thoughts? You've been very quiet on the Patriots.
Well, I don't really comment on insanity. So, I mean, look, this whole, we played 3 of the top 4 defensive stat bollocks that people come out with all the time when talking about them. It's just, you played against Justin Herbert with no O-line. You played against CJ Stroud, who saw ghosts, and you played against Bo Nix, who was broken.
No,
so you didn't play Bo Nix.
We played Mike Stidham.
Yeah, you played Jarrett Stidham. So you didn't play anyone. You didn't play anyone throughout the whole season.
And that's when they struggled the most as well. He struggled.
Exactly.
He had a shoulder injury. Come on.
You've now got yourself a much harder schedule.
Still made the Super Bowl.
I mean through default, yeah. You've got a much harder schedule, and all you've done really is bring in AJ Brown and Romeo Dobbs. And I just don't think it's going to be enough. And that's I think you'll be lucky if you make the playoffs. I think you've got a chance, but I think you'll be lucky if you make the playoffs. More so because of the other divisions. I think the teams from the AFC West will get more wins than what you do. I think that the teams in the AFC North, I think there'll be at least one of the Bengals or the Ravens that gets more than what you do and doesn't win the division. So that's it, isn't it?
I'm really not that worried about the West, though. Obviously, we don't need to deep dive. But I mean, Justin Herbert's too busy, playing with Madison Bear's hair during the offseason, and while he's practicing,
Mahomes is coming up an ACL. So,
I mean, out of those divisions, like Broncos and Ravens, I'm worried about as teams. I think they're the two probably best in the conference, like throughout. There's in the entire roster.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with Andrew in that, and even the over/under is 10.5 for the Pats on the betting line. So I do think we'll get double-digit wins and then probably sneak in as a wild card, because we're also fortunate to be in the division. We're going to come on to the Jets, but realistically, if you're the Pats and the Bills, you should be winning. Having 4 wins there, and that's going to help a lot come the end of the season compared to other divisions.
On to the New York Jets to finish this off with. I mean, 3-14, 4th place. Terrible season. And it started badly with a 24-16 loss in their first preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dead last in pretty much every demographic or around that the whole time. There is a change at quarterback. Geno Smith has come in from the Las Vegas Raiders. No change in coaching, though. Aaron Glenn remains. They believe they're building something. They believe they're building towards something. I mean, I just don't know what we can say. I think it's just going to be a really, really bad season, Andrew, for the Jets. I just think it's going to be more of the same.
You're talking about this as if they're the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I've got the Dolphins struggling to get to 3 wins. I think the Jets are better than that.
I must admit, I was going to come out and go. The one positive they've got this year is they ain't going to come last in their own division for a change. I mean, you've got to big them up a little bit.
Wins.
There seems to be a lot of hype coming from the Geno Smith camp.
I don't know why.
It depends whether you want to buy into that or not. I'm not saying I'm bought in, but there's a lot
buying
of
what they're selling.
We can see that he can distribute the ball better than what they've had at quarterback in previous years. So if he just peppers Garrett Wilson with the ball, they'll move it down the field. Put some money on Garrett Wilson to probably break the reception record. Breece Hall's still there. Their O-line is fine. I've got no issue with that O-line.
Did you hear about Breece Hall today?
I was going to say, didn't he get injured today?
He might have a really bad groin injury.
Well, lots of them have got groin injuries and hamstring tightness, and everyone, like sleepers popping off every day telling me that everyone's questionable. I think that's just pre-season. They brought in a new tight end with a lot of hype. I think Cade Klubnik's could surprise some people with what he produces. The defensive, they've brought in a lot of players, and David Bailey, we loved him. D'Angelo Pons was a big sleeper in the secondary. I think there's 5 or 6 wins out of this team, which I think is a positive. I'm not sure. I'm not saying this is a terrible team. I think that's movement forward for them.
Can I just say, sorry, I've never had so much excitement for 5 or 6 wins.
Hey, I was like this for the Giants last year, mate. I was like 6 wins is really good for us.
We had Jackson Dart and Scat, so it was Scatterby, so it's justified. But I can't take a team seriously who are bringing a guy back who got his jaw broke by a teammate in 2015 and going, I know what we'll do. We'll bring him back 11 years later to be our starter. It's not going to go well.
For me, the shining light is their draft class, Adam. Like David Bailey, their pick at number 2. I mean, 3 first-round picks in the end. Kenya Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon, who just looks phenomenal. Omar Cooper, wide receiver out of Indiana. Andrew's mentioned D'Angelo Pons, quarterback out of Indiana as well. Cade Klubnik down the board, Darrell Jackson Jr., defensive tackle out of Florida State. I remember us being quite bullish about the draft class when it was around April.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's hard not to be bullish on a team with 3 first-round picks, though. I mean, you're going to get some decent players from that. But yeah, I mean, David Bailey, great edge rusher, was really good in college. I think Kenyon Sadiq will be decent. Omar Cooper Jr., not 100% sold, I must say.
Yeah,
I do.
Golden about him, hasn't he? Did well in the playoffs, and that's about it.
Yeah. A little bit, so I'm not overly sold, but he might progress and be all right. You never know. I imagine he's going to get quite a lot of game time, so I think he'll probably do okay. Like I say, Kenyon Sadiq, quite like him. I think Cade Klubnik has potential. They'll probably put him in at some point. He's got big arm, decent sort of accuracy, so I think he'll be okay. D'Angelo Pons plays a bit bigger than what he is. He's a bit small, but I think that he'll probably do all right. But then wasn't he the one who
Aaron Glenn 2.0?
Yeah, he was the one that they had it up when the draft was going on, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think he'll be all right. I like some of the free agents that they brought in. I think Enigbari from the Packers is a decent edge rusher. Minka Fitzpatrick in again. Onyemata from Atlanta should be okay. Not sure about Geno Smith. But yeah, I think Andrew's probably right. I think it's actually relatively positive, but it's relatively positive for a team that's probably going to end up with 5 or 6 wins. And the only real positive that they can sort of hang on to is the fact that they will probably come third in their division. I don't know if 5 or 6 wins is enough for Aaron Glenn to stay in his job, though, because the only reason that he's still in that job is because he basically threw everyone else under the bus. So I don't know.
Well, we'll finish off with Sky's, I'm sure, scathing review of the New York Jets and his putting that Patriots cap back on, and will probably be a lot of ridicule.
I mean, obviously, Andrew and Adam better positioned to talk about the college guys, but there were a few that I actually knew, considering Kenyon Sadiq was obviously at Oregon. Didn't have the best playoffs, but I think that was more on play calling and Dante Moore than Sadiq's ability. So a bit annoyed that he has gone to the Jets. From what I've seen of Omar Cooper, I'm putting it down to maybe more Mendoza making him look good. But I mean, like Adam said, maybe he can come on and do well. Bailey, I mean, 9 times out of 10, I think if you pick a defensive guy at that position, it does usually work out. So at least they can be surefire on that one. The only, as much as I don't think they're going to be great, is that kind of weird because now I've heard everyone talk about them. It's almost like if they had a different quarterback, we'd probably be talking about them a lot more positively because it does sound like they've done a lot of good things. But I just think that with Geno Smith there, that probably could again be what gets Aaron Glenn another year. I'm building something here. Look what I was a part of in Detroit. Look what they built. I mean, they didn't
I think if their defense is good, it might get him another year.
Yeah. Because they're saying
his side of the ball.
8 new starters, I think they're projected. So obviously, like you said, if he managed to make that unit play well, because last year, what was the record they had? 0 picks. I think first time ever. Yeah, like insane. They've obviously got, and going to Fred as well, you'll notice, going to a lot of the Jets coming over to London, I don't dislike them as much as I do like the Dolphins. I think that they've sort of embraced the international scene well. They're making some good moves. I've tried to clear house and do things right, but I just found it particularly amusing, like the talking them up, and then they're only going to get 5 or 6 wins. But
it's just because Fred was literally going, it's no wins again for them this year.
They're at least doing things the right way as opposed to this Dolphins. What did you call it, Adam? Ethical
tanking. Yeah.
We talked about the ethical tanking for them and the fact that they're going to get a big quarterback next year. It's going to be the same for this team, and they're going to be in a better position to bring in one of those guys for the following year. So there's positives to be had for once at the Jets.
Yeah, if they get,
I'm also not 100% sold on Frank Reich being the new OC.
I wrote that down. Thanks, Adam. You reminded me.
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm here for.
He has been living off this Nick Foles Super Bowl run for like 10 years now. Why did they bring him in?
Well, for the same reason we brought Matt Nagy in, which we slipped over when we talked about the Giants.
Frank Reich's probably the only guy living off of that more than Nick Foles. He probably texts him every day like, cheers, mate, just got a new job. Pretty silly backwards move given what, he's failed to achieve in head coaching roles and other OC. Was he not back at... He was back at college, no? Recently? Frank Reich? I was going to guess like Stanford. But either way, he's not setting the world alight. So I think it's a weird move. But then again, it does feel like a very Aaron Glenn bringing someone in who he can control. A bit of a yes man situation, as opposed to a young, sexy, new type of OC.
Maybe it's all a master plan, like Andrew said, to get a better quarterback. The defense does well. Glenn looks like he knows what he's doing and sorting that defense out. The offense is crap. They get rid of Reich, then they get a new quarterback in. Everyone's happy.
He was the interim head coach at Stanford,
and he got fired.
Look at that.
I think he got fired from Stanford as well. I think.
Well, yeah,
he was interim.
He did well.
So wait, he got fired from being an interim?
I think so.
What?
Should we find out?
Jets hire ever. Now that we know that, he just didn't have enough time. Fred, that's probably what he said in his interview with Aaron Glenn and everyone. I didn't have enough time.
So are we all confidently in the same seat of Dolphins, Jets, Pats, Bills then?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Reluctantly.
obviously, but we're saying what Dolphins around that 3 to 4 wins, Jets around that 5 to 7 wins, Pats around what 8 to
Whoa,
10?
hang on. 7? Where did that come from? No one said 7 around here for
Whoa,
the
you're getting
Jets,
too
mate.
far now.
5 to 6, we all said.
5 to 6 then, sorry.
Don't get too excited.
And then what, the Patriots around that 9-10 win and the Bills being around that 11-12?
10-11.
Or-
Whoa, we're definitely getting double digits.
I think,
Definitely
yeah, I
11,
think
12
Pats
for
around that
the
10 mark, and then Bills around that 12, 13 mark, I reckon.
Yeah.
It will certainly be a bit well, it'll be fascinating to see the Patriots and Bills go at it again at the top. And it may excite Jets fans to see some of their players come in and everything like that. I don't know. You just have to have institutional change in some of these franchises, and the Jets just don't have that. And I just think it's going to be just more of the same for me. I think, the Bills as an institution are very well run. The Pats as an institution, well run. Like the Dolphins and the Jets aren't. And I just think it's more of the same. But to summarize, I think the Patriots do take a step back, but I don't think it's a step in the wrong direction. I think it's just a step in a different direction. And the Bills, would it be shocking if they didn't have a good time with it? Joe Brady being the head coach there and that transitional period as well. I doubt it, because Josh Allen is just so good.
As long as he's good at managing the clock and calling times out and throwing the flag correctly, that's all he's got to do, really, isn't it? And then just pat Allen on the back and say, well done.
And James Cook, seems they run the ball so well as well. Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Adam. And thank you, Sky, for joining us on this show, on this preseason preview. Sky, will you be here, there, and everywhere during the NFL European season? Will we maybe see you towards the sunny hills of California in February? What are your big plans for this year?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be at all the NFL Europe games. Not venturing out to Australia. I'm not that crazy. I know some friends of the pod are. But yeah, all the Europe games. Obviously, it'd be great to see the Pats in Germany, especially exciting for German fans because there's a big Lions base there. So they'll be excited for that too. It's nice actually to see two teams with both teams with like respective followings. Do you know what I mean? Going to a country. So I think that will probably be one of the standout games of the international tour. And then when we talk about LA, well, I mean, you guys are planning to go. So hopefully I'll be there as well. And we can all go to Disneyland, Universal, whatever's there.
Both.
You know what? Yeah. Was it when they win the Super Bowl? I'm going to Disneyland. That's what we could say. I'll be Minnie Mouse, and I'll let you guys pick where else you want to be.
I feel like I'm Goofy, aren't I? Surely. Taller,
I was
longer
going to say
hair.
Adam's Eeyore, but that's the wrong. You
can come as Eeyore. That's funny. Well, Sky, you did allude to our good friend of the pod, Shane Brennan from the Irish NFL show. He is going to be in Australia, and he is one half of the Pat's Pals podcast, which is a Patriots podcast that Sky does with Shane. Two great guys, really good podcasts. Make sure you check out on YouTube, on podcast platforms, and on social media as well. And while you're there, why don't you check out the Franchise Tag podcast as well? If you've watched this video, make sure you have liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you have listened, make sure you subscribe as well. Plenty more preseason previews to come. We've had some already, so check them out as well. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms where we have a lot of fun clips and a lot of good stuff coming to you. Until then, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you all again very soon.